Hello, folks. Welcome back to another video. I just wanted to record something quickly because I realized that the new season of Doctor Who is starting this weekend. And maybe it's because I've been off most social media, including Instagram, for the past few months, but I have not seen, shit about it. I saw the initial trailer that came out a few months ago that looked super promising, and then heard pretty much radio silence. I know they've probably been promoting it on social media, but alas, I haven't seen anything. And sure enough, it's coming out this weekend. It starts this weekend. I genuinely did not realize. So I thought I'd give a quick, just minute or two, gonna be way end up being longer knowing my rambling and tangents, talk about my hopes for the season, because a lot of people seem to think that this first season of this new era, whether you want to call it season 1 or season 14, it's very confusing, this new continuity, what we're dealing with or not. Very unclear. But a lot of people said this is when the show jumped the shark, and I wholeheartedly disagree, because from day one, Doctor Who was always a show with insanely high highs and really awful low lows. You never knew whether the next story, the next episode or two-parter was going to be incredible, some of the best in all fiction, or absolute trash. That's just the nature of the show. That's how Doctor Who has been and probably always will be forever. And while the seasonal arc in season 1 of this new era, this 15th Doctor run, was a failure, in my opinion, there were some great stories in there, and there were some terrible stories in there. So I don't think the show jumped the shark. And if you're saying this is when the show jumped the shark and not the Timeless Child arc, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But I'm still a huge Doctor Who fan and love the franchise, So I'm still have a lot of, excitement now that I realize it's coming this weekend. So yeah, just quickly, I want to talk about my hopes for this season. And one is that I hope it rights some of the wrongs of season 1's overall arc, in that I really hope it fixes what they did with Ruby Sunday, because I've talked about it in many other videos. Ruby Sunday was introduced right off the bat as such an endearing, charismatic, altruistic character that you just wanted to see on screen. That was just such a fun, fresh presence, And Russell set up this whole story, mystery around her identity and who she was and her abilities. And it's not that it had a bad resolution, it's that it the resolution actively contradicted its own setup. And I don't think this is the case. I think that story's probably done. But I really, really fucking hope that in season 2 they sort of answer some of the questions. Now that she's not the primary companion, maybe it could be a one-off story or something where they answer some of the questions behind her mysterious abilities and identities. Because it wasn't really addressed while it was, because the answer contradicted so much of the setup. So I really hope they do address that and kind of give some conclusion to that, some finality to that the answer that we did get in season 1 really didn't give us. So I hope that's something they do, because I know she's going to be back in this season, but just not as the primary companion. I'm also very interested to know what the mystery behind the primary companion is, because it seemed if I remember from the trailer and from the promotion, it seems like they're addressing the fact, and it's part of the story, that this companion was played by the same actress as one of the side characters in Boom in season 1. And I think that's going to be part of the narrative. And it was done to death last season with Susan Twist, or Susan, what was it Susan, or Susan Triad, or whatever you want to call it, But the whole thing of the same faces showing up in different areas of time and space. I mean, they did it most aptly with Clara and the whole Clara story arc. And it's kind of reminiscent of even Russell's first story arc in Bad Wolf, if you will. So I'm really interested to see where that goes, and I hope it's an exciting mystery with a good resolution that doesn't actively contradict what was you said the setup for it. So I'm excited about that. See where that goes. And I mean, just generally, I mean, before I get into that, I think it's time to resolve the Miss Flood arc, and on that note, I think it's time to end this Pantheon brother story arc, which I think is Russell's thing for this whole era. He kind of did it with his 14 specials, is where he started it, and he's kind of like been spreading it out over season one, and I assume it seems like it's going to keep going in this. I think, I know it's probably going to go over through this whole Russell T Davies 2 era, but I'm getting kind of sick of this whole Pantheon thing, and I'm interested to hear more unique stories than the Doctor fighting these different gods. I'm done with it. I want more unique stuff, and I know those were scattered throughout the first season, but the first season was too short, and this season's the same length. So I really hope he doesn't take so much time focusing on the Pantheon, and kind of tries to tell more unique stories. And I think Miss Flood is tied into that. I don't know if she's Susan Foreman. That might be what they're building up to. She might be a Pantheon member, or some kind of like entity, because it seems like they might be trying to do this meta narrative thing. I know they were doing a lot of it in season one, like questioning, like, does the Doctor understand that they're in a TV show kind of thing. And we'll see if they do a little bit, continue that in season two. Miss Flood has anything to do with that. But all is to say, overall, I think my absolute biggest hope for this season is that the character writing is good. I hope that the Doctor, like, I love the 15th Doctor. Shidigawa's performance is incredible and so unique and fresh. But I thought he has these emotional meltdowns way too frequently for them to hold their power. I think having emotional meltdowns for the Doctor is an incredible tool to show the stakes of a story and what they're really feeling. But the fact that he cried in pretty much every single story in season one, was, I don't know, a little rough for me, in terms of, like, it takes away the power. It takes away the power of those scenes if he's doing it every episode. So I hope they use that more sparingly. But overall, I'm just looking for a really, like, engaging, interesting, like, fun companion character, in the new companion, and, a more like continued amazing performance from Shidigawa, but a little bit more toned back on that emotionality, I would say. And most of all, I'm just looking for a higher ratio of great stories, great one-off stories that aren't necessarily in service of this bigger, broader arc of the Pantheon, if they continue that, or, try, or whatever this seasonal arc they're setting up. Like, just really good science fiction storytelling in these ones. Or I don't know if they're going to do two-parters this season, and with them being so short, I really don't know if they do in one or two-parters, but just standalone, solid, really good stories is what I'm really wanting out of this season for the most part. So yeah, all to say, I'm excited that we're getting a new Doctor Who season. I didn't even realize. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be talking about every episode on this channel, so if that's what you're here for, hit that subscribe button. Bye.